Hello, hello, hello. I am currently here alone, so waiting to see if some other conversationalists are going to join us tonight. So give us a few minutes and I'll be right back. Hey. Hey.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Tired, but good. Old people.
I was just about to text you. Rick is running late, and he said he would be about 15 minutes late. Hey. How are you doing? I'm good. How are you?
Oh,
Tired, but good.
Yes, Jared.
I was just about to text you.
Oh.
Yeah, I had to close the browser. So yeah, Rick is about 15 minutes late. I don't know about Geo. I know she was out of town on Tuesday, and so she may still be out of town.
Yeah, I think she meant that she wouldn't be joining us this week.
That she would be?
Would not be. That's what I thought. Maybe I read it wrong, but I assumed that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, so I guess probably you and me for now. Fortunately, I have lots of questions.
I don't know why, Michelle. Why would you have all those questions?
Oh, that's just the way my gray matter works. So we may as well go on and get started. And welcome everyone to Reading for Change, a collective journey. This is the second discussion group that we're having on a book. The second book we're discussing under this banner, Reading for Change. And I think we go through, when do we go? What are the dates? Let me check. April 16th to July 30th. So we're about a third of the way through this big book, which is called Debt, the First 5,000 Years by David Graeber, the revised edition. So David Graeber, who passed last December, was last fall, I'm not sure, was an anthropologist. And so it's sort of an anthropological take on an economic matter. And you can learn more about Reading for Change at Facebook, where we where we post invitations, where we post events and send out invitations, and find all of the video archives for discussions on YouTube, both under the name Reading for Change. My name is Michelle Odom, and I am located in Brooklyn, New York. And Venita?
Good evening. My name is Venita Walker, and I'm joining you from Cromwell, Connecticut. And here's my book, ready to go.
When you said Cromwell, I just thought about the tiger. I'm trying to figure out what the association is. Probably because you were telling me about the, what was it, a fox in your backyard?
Yes. So,
and you know, there's a tiger on the loose. Well, he got loose in the Houston area. He couldn't be headed our way.
I saw that, and I was quite amazed, actually. And but it's Texas. So, I mean, the fox that is loose here is actually in nature, but we don't have tigers in nature in Connecticut nor in Texas. So someone bought this tiger. It's 9 months old. That's what they said on television. It's 9 months old, and that's a big tiger at 9 months. I was just amazed by it.
I can't imagine what I would do if I was cruising down I-95 and I looked over and saw a tiger running right beside me. Oh, man.
You probably did the same thing I did when I was on Farmington Avenue, remember? And I looked on.
I saw the Klan.
Yeah. The same thing I would have did. Yeah, people are really have lost their mind. Not only are they're pretty extinct and special, but why would you have a tiger? And they smuggled him, obviously, when he was a baby, because he's still a baby. He's 9 months old. The size of a little pony. And what do you think you're going to do with him later in a residential area? I mean, unless you come from a super wealthy family, if you're going to smuggle him in, they have rolling acres, and you live in this big mansion that's fenced in with fence 20 feet high. And who's going to feed them? Because at some point, it's going to become a problem. I don't know what people are thinking. I just don't know I don't know what they're thinking. And now he's just loose. He's running around the neighborhood, running around Houston. People have children. There's no way you're going to defend yourself be able to do anything against him. And he's 9 months old, but he's big. He's not a little pussycat. He is big and strong. He would knock you down without even trying. He would knock a man down that's 6'2" and not have any problems doing it because they're that strong. So we'll see what happens. But I'm telling you, girl, I can't even go outside in the yard because of a wild fox. Yeah. So I know, I would never go out again if there was a tiger running around Cromwell.
Yeah, no, I remember years ago in Newark, a bear escaped from the zoo and was walking around the streets of Newark.
Now see,
And he was there without me because I used to go out for daily walks until he decided to join us.
The walks are over. Gardening is over. Everything is over. We talking about little fox over here. But yeah, he could have that yard. He could have his neighborhood. And he certainly does because no one's around when he comes. But it's just something. This is 2021. So
yeah.
Yeah, 2021.
Well, all right. Well, let's see. I just wanted to mention that, of course, next week we have a break. And when we come back the following week on May 28th, it is with a discussion on Chapter 6, Games with Sex and Death. Oh, doesn't that sound like fun?
Well, yeah.
Grape is a trip.
Yes, he is.
But tonight we're focused on Chapter 5, A Brief Treatise on the Moral Grounds of Economic Relations. And so I'll go ahead and read the summary. In fact, let me share my screen as I do this. Oh, I think that's the right one. Okay. Okay, enough of that. Where are we? From summary, from earth, no longer will water be made, and fire will not warm the earth. That's a quote from Francois Rabelais. I was hoping our Frenchman would be here to pronounce that in an essay called In Praise of Debt, written in the 1500s, 1540s. In Chapter 5 of Debt, The First 5,000 Years by David Graeber, a brief treatise on the moral grounds of economic relations, the author seeks to identify other foundations of morality that differ from the dominant conceptions of human interactions as based primarily on reciprocity and hence debt. He identifies possible ways of viewing interaction, including communism, or defining human morality as from each according to their abilities, to each according to their needs. Hierarchy, which is seeing morality as interactions among those perceived as superior and inferior people based largely on custom and precedent. And exchange, what we commonly see as morality based on reciprocity among equals. All forms of relations, communism, hierarchy, and exchange coexist as moral principles in all societies. And even where one form dominates, it easily slips into something else as dynamics in the relationship change. Yet, the author finds, is a specific relation between potential equals and middle-class manners reflect assumptions about what we owe each other. Graeber's concern is that by only seeing reciprocity, exchange, and debt in human interactions, the world is always at risk of slipping into chaos. For where there is no debt, there is little incentive to care for one another. Graeber put it this way: if we insist on defining all human interactions as matters of people giving one thing for another, then any ongoing human relations can only take the form of debts. Without them, no one would owe anything to anybody. A world without debt would revert to primordial chaos, a war of all against all. No one would feel the slightest responsibility for one another. the simple fact of being human would have no significance. We would all become isolated planets who couldn't even be counted on to maintain our proper orbits. Venita, would you read question 5, please? You're muted.
That's true. Question number 5. Consider loud noises in apartments and how we might see this as being inconsiderate.
No, below that, but gift economies.
Oh, beg your pardon. Where are we? Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Gift economies operate on completely different principles than market economies, but ultimately assume when one gives a gift, a debt is incurred and the recipient must eventually reciprocate. A, have you ever participated in any ritual where gifts were required? B, how about holidays like the most recent Mother's Day that just passed? Is it important to give gifts to loved ones on major holidays?
Thank you. You know, and I'm saying it with hesitancy because I'm so used to saying it. But after reading this chapter, you never know what somebody's going to make of a thank you.
That's why you just got to, do what you do, keep it moving. When someone says thank you, you tuck your head with humility and you keep it moving.
Yeah.
Yes, that is something. Yeah. I've always felt that way anyways, that, if you do something, you do it and it's done. Yeah. There should be no attachments to something that you do for someone else. If you don't want to do it, you simply don't do it. But I don't want to have anyone feel like I'm indebted to them, nor do I want to make them feel like they're indebted to me. That's a horrible feeling. Right. If someone does something for you and you feel like I have to. No, if I did it, it's done. Did it fill your needs? Because that was my objective. That's enough. Filled your needs, on to the next thing. There's so many other things coming up right after that. You're only good as your last play. You don't have time to sit there and savor, especially in 2021. Keep an account of what you're doing for somebody, what somebody's doing for you. But the question is, gift economics. Have you ever participated in any ritual where gifts were required? Want to introduce Rick first?
So sorry.
You're not sorry, Rick.
Oh, it's okay.
I am.
Where's
okay. You owe a debt to your mother.
Oh, there's Rick.
Yeah, it's lots of I gotta readjust after a year of being alone, but she's great. It's just, all of a sudden having somebody around, you do things and you're like, why wasn't I doing those things for myself? Like groceries, I stopped ordering, I'm losing weight. Having somebody around you changes everything, So I'm good.
Yeah.
How's everybody?
Good.
Absolutely. We're good. Give us your introduction.
I am Rick. I have a horrible haircut. I'm going to the barber at one point. I'm from Queens, New York.
Welcome. So Rick, we are just getting started. We're on question 5.
So let me pull that out. Question the agenda. There it is.
Venita, were you going to respond to question 5?
Yes. Have I ever participated in any rituals where gifts were required? Yes, I have. When you go to a wedding, a gift is required. It's expected that you give a monetary gift or material gift, something that's tangible. So yes, I have participated and haven't felt bad about it. It's weddings are usually fun. Or you get fun. On top of that, they are expensive. And
what's the reciprocity involved in that?
Well, I don't really have any, but I don't expect anything, because I always feel like you care enough about me, because I only accept invitations from people that I'm very close to. So I'm just flattered that you care enough about me to invite me to share your special day.
Well, do you get a dinner?
Yeah, but there's times where I've gone to weddings and only gone to the ceremony, still extended the same gift that I would extend anyway, and not had
If you had done that for someone and then next year you got married, would you expect them to come to your wedding and bring you a gift?
If I invited them, it would be the same way them extending the invitation to me. Now, I would think if it fit their schedule, that they would be equally as flattered, but I wouldn't be all broken up, if they didn't come. So I just, that's probably the wrong analogy for me or example, because I'm not a big wedding person. I didn't have that gown with the white stuff and the veil and the flower people and all that stuff, because I'm just not really into weddings. So I probably
I think it is a good example of a time, huh?
What he says about orbits. So even if you don't like that, because you did it, you still expect others to do it. Oh, you don't care, but still, oh, that's mean from them because we actually bought them something. And here's the thing about marriage I love. It's like Christianity in its purest form, because with nothing, you buy wholesale for the marriage, bullshit food, you put on the table, 40 people, same, not that good, like buffet, like, oh, we did a buffet, a vegan buffet. So-called fancy, but super cheap. And you bring a mixer, a console, a computer, a broom, like, you bring stuff that outweighs, so you multiply wealth. That's, Jesus saying, oh, give me one bread. Oh, you got all money now.
I don't know. I just don't even like things that have expectations. I don't really have that many expectations, or probably any, or I wouldn't feel some kind of, I don't know. I guess it's just a ritual that I'm used to all my life, where someone invites you to a wedding and it's usually close to not random people. So I want to be there. Do you have random people inviting you places, Rick?
No, I'm thinking about one thing. A very long time ago, marriages didn't have presents or gifts or just show up. It's our love or whatever, and we're gonna. And then one day somebody wanted to be fancy and was like, you know what? For my marriage, I'm gonna give gifts to you. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm a big show off. And then later people were like, God, we gotta give him a gift next time he gets married, And so he got, like, because they had several wives, and so it went on. So we're all doing this because then it contaminated everybody, because you're like, oh, and so we inherit debt, like primordial debt. It started with a guy trying to, Rousseau, the French, the Swiss philosopher. Sorry, he spoke French, but he was Swiss. He used to say, the moment things started going haywire in nature, humans, because we were all equal, and the origin of inequality is the day a guy said, hey, look, that's mine. Well, what is mine? Well, now that's mine because, look, I'm strong. I don't get it. Let me show you. Step here. That's what it means. But you got all the berries there. That's unfair. We used to all get the berries. Okay, but I'll tell you what, pick up my berries and you can have some of my berries. And so the original inequality is when a strong guy starts thinking. And in 2001, A Space Odyssey, the monkey, I don't know if you remember that movie, the beginning, when they're all like miserable and lions, like saber tigers, kill them, and they're all like, oh my God, and they're getting bullied by other monkeys. And one day they're starving, and there's a skeleton of an animal, and it's all dry, and the monkey takes the bone and start boom. You have the music, boom, boom, boom. He starts hitting the bones, and while hitting the bones, he also hits animals that falls Kubrick. So they eat food, and then the other tribe of monkeys comes back and tries to bully them. He comes, hits one in the front, he's dead. All other monkeys run away. and then he throws it in the sky, and it becomes a space station. The movie is incredible, but it's, the primordial. It's all about powers. One day a monkey starts thinking about violence and a way to use a weapon. Sure, you then get healthcare, science, but let's not forget that it also leads, nuclear weapons and nuclear power, radiology, but also nuclear weapons. So it's a rough world. What do we really owe? I don't think we owe anything. I think we're just prisoners of past mistakes.
I think we're prisoners in our own mind, period. Just like some of us are only giants in our own mind. A lot of us are only giants in our own mind.
America is a country of, if you listen to everybody, they're all giants. Everybody's a loser but me.
Thinking about with this question, years ago when I pledged for a sorority, one of the practices was to, the pledgees had to give a gift to the leader. And it had to be something that you made with your hands. And so I did it without giving much thought to the point of it or the meaning of it. But after reading this chapter, it just really gave me a cause to reflect on that in a different way. I did not stay active with the sorority, so I don't know, what kind of mutuality may have been expected down the road from that act. But but I thought it was interesting. Yeah. Then on the question of, let's look at question B. How about holidays like the recent Mother's Day? Do we think it's important to give gifts to our loved ones on major holidays?
We have an excuse in France not to do it. Mother's Day was established by the Pétain regime, collaborator of the Nazis in the 1940s. So always say, Mom, come on. It was done by the dictator. Can't, I love you, but no, every day's your day. We're horrible human beings. We have no honor. We lie all the time. No, and so I don't know. In America, I think it was also part of that Jim Crow conservative and prohibition era thing. It was like to reinforce moral place. Like, it's very insulting towards mothers because, like, you're a good mother. You take good care of us. Cook, stay in the kitchen and be pure and don't go with other guys, And Father's Day is like the pipe, with the mustache and the chair and the children around. Oh, father, yes, I am the master of this house. I bring the bread. And I don't know, I feel always I hate those things. It's like Women's Day. I'm like, okay, so we have a day also for dogs, but they gave to human beings a day. They give to Black people 1 month, to now Asian Pacific Islanders, because no, we're gonna not separate them, even though they're totally different civilizations. They look alike. We're gonna put them in the same month. It's all good. Racism has been conquered.
Is that what? Oh, geez.
Think about those like television shows change during Black History Month, and I hate it because all of a sudden you have, if you want to learn about Black people, like on YouTube, like, yes, I'm like, I don't want to learn about Black people. I just want to watch a show made probably by Black people, and I don't care, not because, but the problem with Hollywood is that there's nobody there who works who's Black, except in the shadows, because seriously, think about it. Hollywood is all white.
Last night, Law and Order SVU.
Ice-T.
One of my shows.
Forever. My hero. Sorry.
And they had a couple of Asian characters on there. They were criminals.
Oh, I thought they were grocery store workers, right? Law and Order.
But I couldn't remember. really ever seeing an Asian character on Law and Order or SVU. So I was thinking, it must be some reaction to the current Asian hate going on. But it's interesting that the only way they could kind of write them in, there was an Asian lawyer. There were criminals and there was a lawyer. But it was just interesting to me
it's
that
between them,
if you want us to include us, you're gonna have to be the criminals.
There's an actual trope in white culture, whether in France or in America, where white authors will say, no, you don't understand. We put black people in very bad position as gangbangers and shit. We want to be in reality, and also here's true equality. We're all capable of evil, And you're like,
Right.
But no, that's not equality. If your character comes from a neighborhood where he's black and he's a criminal, not everybody's a criminal. Show other people, show the story. Don't just show that guy coming to white people, white cops, like, hey. I remember Wesley Snipes did a lot of that shit in the late 80s.
The best they can.
I think what they're trying to do is create another illusion that we all are in this wonderful world together. Because there's a thing called foreign movies, and I quite frankly enjoy them. I love subtitles. And if you really want to watch movies with people from other cultures, watch foreign movies. And you can not only learn about their culture, you'll see them in different positions in the world, instead of just sitting around the shop with this raggedy little broom sweeping a dirt floor. You see them as doctors and lawyers and teachers and community people and everything else. So again, it's a psychological thing that America's playing with people's mind. And I find it quite insulting. I think Black History Month is an insult, period. And I actually hear people.
And in February, really so there's no parade.
Well, but I just hear people that's really, sometimes you read the threads on social media. I don't participate because it's crazy, but you read threads that are actually upset because of this didn't happen during Black History Month. And you would think, a good example, Harriet Tubman. At one point, there was a big controversy going on with her being on one of the
$20 bill.
And again, I was insulted. And I actually had Black folks, that was very upset. How dare them, not put her on a dollar bill. I quite frankly think Harriet Tubman is too good to be on the white man's paper. That was my feeling. I don't know what you were fighting about.
You want her near a pyramid with an all-seeing eye? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say. I don't understand that. It's not gonna give us any more equality.
And with the signature of the guys who used to make the checks for slaves.
Yeah.
The treasurer of the United States.
It's like,
how do you feel this on holidays?
Excuse me?
How do you feel about holiday gifts?
I don't really like, I don't think I've ever given my mother a Mother's Day gift. I just don't, actually, I hate the gift giving period.
Valentine's Day?
Nope. My husband and I don't do any of those holidays.
No, Valentine's Day, no, there's a secret. Every woman I know always told me they hate it.
Yeah, I just don't. I just don't.
Do not forget it when you're a man.
Well, no, I just think I'm not. It's just me. It has nothing to do with. It's okay. I just don't put that much weight and credence on holiday. No, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm like,
I'm sure your husband's like.
No, I remember years ago when we first got married. When we first got married, my husband bought me a dozen roses. And he thought it was a nice thing to do. And I thought and I appreciated him, feeling that it was a nice thing to do. But quite frankly, roses are my least favorite flowers in the world.
But he did something. It's not about doing the right thing, it's about remembering. No,
and I don't care. And I don't care if he remembered. It's just like, it's a personal thing. I'm just not stuck on stuff. Never been stuck on stuff. I'm not the feminine butterfly that goes through all these changes. And if you got to bring me flowers, and on Mother's Day, you have to go to the stupid brunch that the food is always awful anyway. That's what I hear from other people, you know. So what we normally would do is we'd celebrate with our whole family. It's like we never, when the kids were growing up, we always celebrated all birthdays together, all special, you know, our birthdays. Like we wouldn't go out separate as a husband and wife. Our whole family, we go to a pizza parlor, talk about wonderful things. But I mean, you know, I'm just not into that. I've never been into that.
You bought gifts and they bought you gifts because everybody says no gifts. But then people are like, but maybe people will have gifts, you know him. Yeah. We don't want like the guy offering gifts to everybody being empty-handed in the end. So everybody's like, let's bring a little thing, you know. So everybody brings gifts. It's always the same cycle, you know. Even if you don't think about it, you're always, because you don't want people to feel bad, you know. It's a tradition, you know, it's dumb, but still, if you're the only one not getting gifts.
Well, Carl and I don't buy each other Christmas. Carl and I do not buy each other. We never buy each other Christmas gifts. We've never bought each other Christmas gifts because we're not
children anymore. That's why I always say.
No,
Christmas for kids.
I wouldn't say that because I know adults that celebrate Christmas and it's a big deal for them, and everybody gets all these gifts.
Yeah, but it should be only for kids.
Yeah, so
you know what I mean? It's the Santa Claus. It's Jesus Christ being a baby. It's for kids.
But
we adults get gifts.
But you know what? The debt to me, is always just treat me the way you want to be treated. Now you can call that a debt, but that's all I ask. I don't need the gifts. I don't need the claps. I don't need the, I'm not insecure. I don't need the, you okay, Venita, you okay, Venita, you okay, Venita. Just treat me, I can't stand that. High maintenance people anyway. I don't do high maintenance. But
you okay, Venita?
Well, I am disturbed by the commercialism of it all. The pressure to participate in this ritual, separate from, a genuine gesture of love or concern or whatever. And so, Rick, to the problem that you're talking about, I think it has a lot to do with really getting to know an individual. Like on the first Valentine's Day, you might want to just get the flowers and the candy, to be on the safe side, but then have the discussion, about how they actually feel about this ritual, especially in the context of the kind of concepts that come out of this chapter and this book, because you never really know what the recipient of the gift is feeling, or what the giver of the gift is feeling. If the giver of the gift, if you're bringing flowers and candy, and your expectation is, okay, so now you're going to sleep with me, you just as well keep the flowers and candy, and so it really gets into these delicate kind of issues. But let's
I'm just saying, what you expect and what you get with Venita is two different things, and you can expect all day long.
Right.
And that's why what did your mother always tell you, Michelle? I know my mama did, and my daddy. Make sure you always have your money with you, because there has been a time where people had expectations. And I said, I will take the tab. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful evening. Don't worry about it. I got this. Don't call me. And I won't be calling you.
And that's what Graeber is talking about.
Yes.
That, kind of once you settle the score with somebody, if it has to be that start, then you just as well walk away from the relationship.
Yes. Yes, for sure.
Because it has turned into a tit for tat.
And
I guess that's what it is. The holidays feel like.
Yeah, it does.
Tit for tat.
Strangely enough, we still believe that giving money during church is okay.
I don't go to church, so we don't know.
But you know what I mean? The ritual's still there, even though we're like, We should never be about, relationships never be tainted by money in the sense of, giving. And the church always wants money. And it's contradictory to something called the gospel.
Yeah.
They might have forgotten about that. I'm talking from a Catholic point of view, because the Catholics are like, well, yeah, we got gold, but it's to praise Jesus' glory. What do you mean? I mean, the poor guy who lived, who was exiled, and his father was a carpenter. What the? Oh no, it's to honor him. He had a tough childhood. Mm-hmm. You still have
Yeah,
Indians, right? Yeah, we did.
yeah.
So
Yeah, you give it, you pay the gift or the tithes,
yeah, I remember that. Tides.
much much like tributes to the king, right?
That's another reason why I don't do
King.
it. I just have fallen out of participating with most things other than what I really choose, and it's not those things because I was over it when I was younger. I was just over it because I always thought tithes, because I know the church is a building, and I'm assuming that with this building it has to be maintained. You need to, make sure it's kept up nicely. You have to pay the mortgage.
Yeah.
You need to
In
buy
Europe.
electricity. And that's why I always thought tithes was for. But then when I'm looking at some of these, especially today with the mega churches, I'm like, no, the tithes is for the $100 million jet,
Yep.
the mansion. And I always wondered to myself, I'm looking at these people in these big mega halls. And these aren't wealthy people. Some are quite poor. There's something has to be psychologically wrong with you to bring what little you have to a so-called minister, and I do use all those words lightly, that's walking around with $5,000 tailor-made custom suits on, $1,000, gators, riding around in the biggest BMW, the big one.
Right. Something wrong with you, or something
wrong.
so deeply embedded in the human psyche. Like if you think about how Graeber is talking about the noble warriors, and how they needed a lot of money so that they could build their entourage.
I know,
and and how people wanted to be near them and would bring them gifts.
See, I mean,
Give you an idea. And there's something, the Catholic thing about priests not marrying. That wasn't a thing until the 11th century, the Gregorian reform. So before that, there was an old dispute: who is the representative of God on earth? The Pope, that bishop from Rome, or the kings? So in France, it was the king, the emperor. I represent God. Yeah, you're not Betty. But the other guy would say, no, I'm somebody. I have influence over all Christians, So the problem is that there was a habit among landlords and about aristocrats was to have not only one wife, but several mistresses that were noble. And that created stepbrothers with whom you had good relationships because you were sharing women and money and all that and military. So they were becoming more powerful. The Pope wanted to stop them. There was two strategies they created, three actually. First, they asked for great peace between all landlords because you cannot kill Christians anymore. And they were all like, oh, but So wait, how do we justify our power, we the nobles, if we don't protect the peasants anymore? If there's no war? Wait, we're coming with that. There's a land where people are heathens. There's the tomb of Jesus Christ. Oh, and what's there? The Silk Road. Oh, that's interesting. We can kill them. You can slaughter all of them. So the Pope knew they would get destroyed because the Arabs had a big empire. They were like, we're like clever and you're like crazy. Like the first battle, they all had their armor on. It was 90 degrees or 95 degrees Fahrenheit. The battle was over in a few minutes because the Arabs didn't wear that shit. They all burned inside their armor, like cooked, the idiots. So whatever. Christians coming to the Middle East, first time. They didn't learn since then, whatever. But what I'm saying is that the first strategy was the Gregorian reform, which says that the model of monks who don't marry, who don't have sex, should be applied to priests. Why? Because priests were always aristocrats, bishops, all these guys. And they were marrying too. They had allies, stepbrothers too, and they could say to the Pope, no, I'm not doing your stuff, I'm not doing your bubble, I'm keeping my stuff, I'm getting my money. So he prohibited polygamy. And all of a sudden, all these alliances between landlords were destroyed. And all of a sudden, kings rose up, the kings that would conquer the world and colonize all of Africa and South America. So the Pope is responsible for a lot of stuff, bad stuff, crusades, colonization, and we're, and in France and everywhere where there are Catholics are still like, he's a holy person. No, he's not. He's an enemy of mankind. There's Doug Stanhope, the comedian, that once had a joke saying, they say Benedict XVI used to be a Nazi. I wouldn't be worried. I would be more worried if somebody told me that Nazi, you know what? What? He used to be a pope. Because the Catholic Church is insanely criminal. And we still think we owe some sort of respect. We talk about that. What about this? So strange. We owe respect to the military. We owe respect to the government. We owe respect to the president. We owe respect to the office. No, we don't. Where does that come from? Like, I need to respect the office? Why?
Let's change directions. Rick, would you read question 16, please?
Okay, 16, there we go. Heroic societies are where governments are weak, are non-existent, and societies organized instead around warrior noblemen, each with his entourage of loyal retainers and tied to the others by ever-shifting alliances and rivalries. In such societies, warrior noblemen throw large feasts with contest, generosity, and artful boasting. The last US president is like a cancer that won't go away. Daily we hear of loyal retainers trekking to Mar-a-Lago to kneel at his feet. And given the deep history in human culture of this sort of relation, how likely are the autocrats ultimately to defeat the American experiment in democracy? And follow-up question, what human need is being addressed by bowing to an autocrat that democracy does not satisfy?
Thank you. I told Venita I have to be careful saying thank you after reading this chapter because who knows? Who knows what debt I'm incurring?
That's right.
And I didn't know merci meant mercy, and that and that it had this connection to you're being guilty, you're being a criminal, you're begging for mercy.
Yeah, well, that I kind of never liked that word because, in French, mercy, and because it meant what it said to me. It's like I'm bowing to your feet, telling you to have mercy on me. And I guess that's my problem when it comes to all this stuff, because I don't believe I don't believe I'm beneath any human, and I don't believe I'm above any human. I don't care what you have, where you came from. So all of this, was really alien to me, because I just couldn't imagine. That's why I said something has to be wrong with you. And it's not, of course, it's from conditioning. But I don't know. I just never thought about it. I never thought about bowing to anyone, ever.
Well,
have you, Rick?
Well, it's European. So the thing is, we do bow, and we do it a lot to different people. Whether it's interesting is that it's not landlords alone. It's not warriors. It's, for example, in France, you meet an offer who's poor by choice, doesn't care about trying to get a prize. Everybody thinks he's the greatest offer of all time. He spits at people like, don't come near me. And you bow in front of him. He gets angry, but he knows that it's what we do because, oh, master. And we talk to people who are poor and say, call them master because they're mastering one discipline. Like carpenters, we call them masters, master corporate. We're like, hey, even like rich people are supposed to do that. And even the guy from LVMH, Channel, all that stuff. That guy, he's super rich, but he bows in front of factory workers because what they do, the bags and stuff, nobody can do. You can't do with machines. It's French artistry. It's done by people who've done this work for 40 years with their little glasses. So he bows to them because they're masters. They're technically masters. Notre Dame is built by masters who are not rich. So like I'm a master in philosophy, but all this order surprisingly, where really it's interesting is that Nietzsche, he wrote a book, The Genealogy of Morals, and in the book he talks about the origin of the word thank you, also in German, saying I beg you. It literally means I beg you in Old German. It says, and he says, but what it gave us. And then he ends up by saying this quote that's very famous: how much blood and horror in the depths of all good things. And he tries to say that we aren't polite and educated and refined because we're free. We were conditioned through suffering, pain, and violence to behave that way and think it's honorable. Of course, Nietzsche didn't have a lot of friends. So, but he's right. If you think about it, education, oh, he's well raised. How many children were well raised by being beaten up? Yeah, you become very disciplined and stuff, but deep down inside, you're hurt, and we think it's weakness to acknowledge we hurt. Like there's been this MMA fighter, really incredible guy, really hardcore, really worked well. Last year was really candid about the fact that he had a year of depression, real clinical depression. And he talked about it and said, you need to seek help. This guy's a badass. So it means a lot, because there's this culture of, no, I'm strong. And the first people it hurts is really men, because men don't realize that if they free themselves from this, oh, I'm good, and admit they're in pain, they'll feel better. But no, even when there's nobody around, we're conditioned to think, no, it's not pain. No, I don't have cancer. And if I do, I'll beat it. No, you won't. It's so toxic. And you know why? Because we're told, from Chinese to French to Americans, that we owe that to ancestors as men. I have to come back.
Oh, I was going to ask Rick about the curtsying to the queen. I guess it comes out of that same kind of tradition.
Sorry, somebody wrong.
I don't really know where you and I will be able to survive, to live, Michelle, because I couldn't live back then. I don't bow to anyone now, ever, under any circumstance. And it's not this arrogance. It's just like, I don't see a reason. If you honed your craft, as you were saying in France, and you'll have a rich man bowing to a master artist or a carpenter. For me, it's like, I don't even get it, because, you've given great things, but that's what you do. That's your gift. You know what I'm saying? And the man that mops the floors in the Empire State Building, that can buff those floors to a shine that looks like ice, that is his craft. It's wonderful. When I see it, it's like you can't believe how shiny those floors are, but I just would never, but that's what he does. It's like, where's it come from that people have to feel like they have to bow or thank? That's what you do.
Because
that's your
Graeber doesn't talk about it that much, but it's vassal and I don't know how you say, and liege. In France, it was the same thing. It was only between aristocrats. So the idea is Machiavellian. The guy who's got a lot of power gets into relationship with smaller landlords or warriors, so that with their land, so that they can beat up his common enemy. But he reinforces them. So the idea is that I give you money and protect you with more military, but in exchange, if I'm in trouble, you're all with me and we all fight. And that's why they were marrying brothers and sisters all over the place to make sure to reinforce these alliances. What changed everything is when the Pope, again, was reinforcing monarchies rather than, I support landlords of the Middle Age more than because they were freer, and they were fighting against the church, trying to fantasize people. So they were not that bad. And they created commerce, whatever. The thing is, these guys, the king and everybody, the king saying, who was really weak in France and England, by the way. Landlords were, the king was like a symbolic title from the Roman Empire. It was over. Said, okay, since I'm the representative of the people, which was true, I get them to be in that relationship with me. So they owe me, and I support them against you. The people fell for it, because you bow when you think you're gonna participate in power. You don't bow because the only people who bow because they're scared of force, slaves are forced to the ground and things like that. But when people knowingly bow, it's like the Trump administration, because they want to participate in the power. They want to be part of it, so they bow to the king. And in France, we don't, how we bow is not, we don't put our knees on the ground, we do this. We just lower a little bit the knee, show our finger, and come back straight, ready for action. What are your orders, my leech? What are your orders, teacher, coach? And that's why I left, because I can't stand that atmosphere of hierarchy everywhere. In France, they tell you you won't get promoted until the guy above you gets promoted. So if the guy sucks, you're stuck. Hierarchy.
Well, that brings us back to the question. So I think Rick was really responding there to question A about why these autocrats are going down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring. It just seems to me that all of those people that are running after him, and the however many 74 million who voted for him, are perhaps really saying that they would prefer an autocracy, which is obviously deeply embedded in human history. They would prefer an autocracy to a democracy. Democracy, which is relatively young. And so I don't know, are they going to win this fight?
Well, the Greeks.
Eventually, in terms of the question of where could we live, Venita? Are they going to win this fight?
Think about Athens, how it worked. Athens was the first ever real democracy in history. It was a unique thing in history at that point. And they were so aware of how tyranny and rich people worked that they prohibited something that used to be done in Greece, which was, I'm Ecclesias, son of. You can no longer refer to your parents. They destroyed the records, the genealogy records of the temple. And they were really they exiled everybody, and they had a new rule where when somebody becomes too popular, he is ostracized. That comes from the Greek autarkia, which means literally you are exiled from the city. So they would go to Thrace, they would go to Thebes and whatever. The only one who escaped that was Pericles several times, and in history, it's still a mystery why he was not. So great warriors, people who helped Athens, great economists, great work, expelled because they were too popular. But then at one point, something happened. People were all supposed to go vote. Unless you don't go vote for everything, by the way, you get a fine. So farmers 50 kilometers, 30 miles away couldn't just leave their crops when voting was. So what happened is that they were paid by people who were in the city to not go, so they would pay their fines and they would vote. So first start, geography mattered. And the whole thing, when I hear about urban areas not having access to voting, it reminds me of that, democracy has always gone for the same thing. And the moment that everything collapsed after the wars in the Peloponnese is they were talking about, they were becoming populist demagogues. That's where it comes from. And all the demagogues were making fun of one guy. That guy was saying, guys, stop, debating about whether the gods, this god is good or not good, whether we vote about that, or who's the strongest pancreas. There's a guy up north called Philip of Macedonia. He's at our doors. We need to work on the army. We need to vote about, defense and creating morals. They got conquered. And Philip gave birth to a certain Alexander the Great. So Athens collapsed from within, because democracy had become just about populism. So it's the same story over and over again. And Plato said that, he explained it would happen. But then Plato wasn't popular in democratic Greece. And we always say in philosophy, democratic Greece failed the day they executed Socrates. So,
So here we are. Venita,
Well,
where we gonna live?
I don't know. I think they're going to go for it, but I do think there's one thing in this pretend democracy, and it is pretend, but we'll just go with it for the moment, for this sake of this question. That people from all people, just like with COVID, you know, folks do like their freedom. And when a certain individual says there's going to be a civil war, it's going to be a civil war, and whoever's standing, that's how society will be run. But it's just not going to be where it's going to be where the autocrats just take over and no, it's not going to happen that way. Because folks have enjoyed freedom. Once you get a taste of something, no matter what, especially freedom, you're not going to hand it over. As Black people, when we got a taste of freedom, that's why we continue to fight and to fight. Because once we got that little taste and they took them chains off and we was able to step up those plantations, you weren't going to put us back on there without a fight. So yes, I think it's going to come to a civil war, and whoever's standing at the end, it'll be autocrat or democracy. But no one's going to take the land.
All civil wars lead to autocracy.
Well,
Because
guess what?
that's what happened to France and also to Russia. The first revolution, then a revolution has to fight back against enemies, becomes a dictatorship itself. Then there's chaos, civil war, etc. Then at one point, everybody's like, we need one guy. And one small guy comes up and says, I'm Napoleon. I'm going to destroy all of your liberties and conquer Europe and kill 7 million people. Hey. It's the cycle. Order. We want order, not liberty. What people say when they say my freedom and rights, they mean order. They don't mean freedom.
Well,
freedom is, sure, let's go fight. No? Why?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, and I don't know who's going to win, but my point was, it's no one's going to take the line down. You know, no one's going to, I can't see everyone is taking that line down again. Unless, like I said, you know, they can pull some moves. And you had the fool walking across the White House lawn, which I can care less about the White House or the lawn, but he's walking across the lawn with the military to go across the street to a boarded up church to hold up upside down Bible. Anything is possible.
Which is like, no, you know what?
I'm not trying to be funny, but you know, nothing comes to.
No, but I was astonished. Not a single Christian said, wait, that's a signature of Satan, you know, upside down Bible. Like, this is a symbol that Satan is saying, hey, I'm here. You're not noticing? Come on. Yeah. If Obama had done that, you would have gunned him down. I'm here. Right. I'm Satan 666. No.
Well, okay. Well, you know that because the Christians, some of the Christians, of course, and whatever that may mean, I don't wear that title either, and nor do I care to wear it. But some of the Christians, they I can't say what I want to say, so I'll just leave it right there. But religion is very corrupt. I mean, it's all about politics, so it has nothing to do with Christianity a lot anymore, you know. So of course there are going to be a vast majority of leaders that won't say anything, and of course you have the flock that follows behind the leaders. So if the leaders don't call it out, then the flock is not going to call it out. And that's why you hear nothing, because it's all about politics. Church is politics.
But there's something more, is that Europe with the church was the only country that went after others with, as a symbol, not a sword, not an eagle, a poor man on a cross. We're not enemies. Let us in. We're weak. Look, our God is like you. It's horrible. It's a snake. The Catholic Church, the Vatican, is one of the most horrific places on earth. I stand by that. You know, Catholics are good people, but this thing, you know, Jesus Christ would come back and was like, this is too big to wreck, because he wrecked the temple when he saw merchants in it. What is the Vatican? I mean, Jesus Christ would come and like, I need gasoline and the match. Give me. It's gonna take some time. I'm gonna multiply that, but it's gonna still, it's a big one. It's a country. They have a country within the city. Yeah, that part is ours. What do you mean? It's our city. Yeah, but it's ours now. We got Swiss guards. Careful.
No. Well, Michelle, I know where we're going. We're gonna have to start making plans right now. We're gonna find some place to go. I told you before, off the grid. We gotta have our own, organic garden. I guess we'll be going back to walking again, horse and a buggy. You coming, Rick?
If you want to go steer away from crazy people, you don't want to have as neighbors all these guys with Confederate flags and bunkers waiting for the apocalypse and the rapture. Because think about it, that's a lot of, they never talk about, there were in the 90s some black survivalists were attempting that experiment. They stopped because they would go into places and people are like, what are you doing on this land? Well, I bought it. I'm going to live here and survive. You can't be here. It's the same story over and over again. Like farmers after the Civil War, it's like this country won't admit that they need black people to be at the bottom of society, never being able to grow, because white people need to still think, the trap of emancipation is that white people think they did it. The reason why emancipation was becoming a real problem even for racists was because black people are starting to really revolt. We never talk about that in history because in America, it's like, I don't know why it's offensive to say that black people fought back and some people slaughtered, white people, no, enslavers. The plantation they killed, but it never comes up. And the only guy who made a movie about it, remember, he was accused of rape from 20 years before.
What was that?
Yeah, that movie was like the big thing from Sundance 2017. All of a sudden, it all collapsed. I never actually watched it, but it was about, what was the name of the movie? It was about one of the guys who used to be a pastor for black people, and he was at first really trying to make a good relationship with white people, making sure everybody's safe. But then something happened, and he actually got into a revolt and killed 120 enslavers, and then he got killed, of course. But I don't remember the name of that guy. And the movie was like epic, like Braveheart for black people. And all of a sudden, before it's released, the guy's accused of rape from the student when he was in college. And it all disappeared. Interesting. I'm not saying that don't believe everybody, but come on, sometimes there's some,
Well, I was listening to a podcast the other day that was talking about the Palestinian, Israeli-Palestinian issue going on today. And the newscaster, the host said something like, it's just really, it's hard for Americans to understand this situation. And so the Palestinian commentator said, well, that's unfortunate and interesting because America was founded on the very same principles. You killed the Native Americans.
Manifest Destiny. We have a book. Oh, it's mythology? No, it's not mythology. It's history. No, it is. It's our place. What? Hey, so you're all white. Where the fuck do you come from?
Question 6. Our persistence in focusing on reciprocity as the foundation of human relations means that debt really is at the root of all morality, because debt is what happens when some balance has not yet been restored. Given what you know of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, how would you describe their issues, and is there a way to describe them without the language of debt?
Well, yeah, that's why the conflict cannot be solved, because it's not about debt. Something was taken from them. Each party says that. Israel says we Jews were stripped from this land from the Romans, and we had to go over all Europe and get slaughtered. We're coming back. This is ours. Nobody owes it to us. It's ours. And Palestinians say, no, you don't owe us thing. This is ours too. So this is why there's no like, we're gonna, Northern Ireland, they found a way. You owe us, we owe us. They found a way, even though it's fragile. The Palestinians and Israelis won't listen to each other. There's no debt. They don't owe anything to each other. We owe them something, and we Europeans are really good at it. We gave Jewish people to the Nazis. We destroyed the Arabic world, but for whatever reason, we managed to get them to fight each other instead of unifying and taking revenge, like the Chinese are planning. Think about it. We're really good.
We gave Jewish people to the Nazis, did you say?
Oh, the French, yeah, we gave our own citizens to the Nazis with our own cops, and the Nazis haven't asked for them because they were saying, hey, Hitler, we should be careful with the Jews of France. They're Latin people. They're not like us, Aryans. So maybe there'll be a revolt. No, we gave them. We offered them. 1,500,000 French Jews were slaughtered and given by us. And then we gave them the nuclear weapon. Sorry. Why the Israelis have the nuclear weapon? The French, not the Americans. We gave them. De Gaulle did. They must be old. They're big. I don't know where they put them. No, but no, it's and we managed and we destroyed the Arabic world. We colonized it. We crusaded it, and we're like, nobody's coming after us. What about we invent a new lie? What? That they're coming after the poor white people, so that we even put them down because we never know. Like the Chinese, look what happened. We thought they were stupid, and they're coming back. It's horrible, but it's really that's why I hate anti-racism branded by white media, because it's always like I feel like I'm looking at a documentary about animals, because it's like, oh, look at how incredible they are, and I don't care if they're incredible or they suck. I shouldn't care about, I'm nobody to tell them what to do, and them doesn't even exist. Who the hell are you talking about? What do you mean black people? Like who? People from Chicago? Different experience from people from, St. Louis, or that's why I hate really Black History Month a lot. Like it's not Black history, it's history. It's your history, whether you like it or not. It's not like there's a history and a Black history. Like, no, there's real history and there's that little history. That's literally the message, And here's February. Don't come out. We'll be scared. Don't parade. Seriously.
Venita,
everybody gets a parade but Black people. It's cold.
Well, yeah, but of course, the need for Black history goes out of the refusal to include it as history.
No, it's included. It's a side chapter, just to explain a little bit the Civil War. But Civil War was also about states' rights, and Mayflower and presidents and the moon and Cold War, and you're done. Here's your diploma. Goodbye.
Yeah. Venita, are you still there? I can't see you. She must have stepped away. So, all right. Yeah, well, it's been a really messy situation going on this let's see. I'm going to read question 8. Or you feel like reading, Rick?
Sure. So Graeber argues communism exists right now to some degree in every society. Whenever it is the operative principle, even if it's just 2 people, we can say we are in the presence of a sort of communism. We see the communist principle at work when we collaborate on common projects, in the midst of great disasters, when strangers give us directions during conversations, when we ask for a lighter or a cigarette, and when we save someone who is drowning or has fallen on the subway tracks. I will call this baseline communism, the understanding that, unless people consider themselves enemies, if the need is considered great enough or the cost considered reasonable enough, the principle of from each according to their abilities to each according to their needs will be assumed to apply. Question 1. In what ways has our response to coronavirus looked like communism? Has anyone ever given you false directions? And if so, what did you think of it? What are some examples of baseline communism you've observed?
Well,
Nita?
That was interesting when I read that. I thought that was the most interesting thing that I read in the chapter.
The section on communism?
Yes, looking at communism from that perspective. Maybe I just never understood what communism was. That's what it is. My idea of communism was it was horrific. You have no rights. You have the right to do it, what I say as a whole, this is what you're going to do. But if you put it in that perspective, I guess I practiced baseline communism. If, I think we all do. Yeah. If I see a need, another human that has a need that I can fill because I know how to do that, then I just do. So yeah, I think I've actually done that many times. The false directions, I don't ask for directions in major cities. You just don't. If you don't know where you're going, you need to map it out before you get there. There are a lot of wonderful people that will give you directions, but I also know from growing up in the city, well, I'd say, I don't know if Philadelphia is as bad as New York. At some point, it becomes a game, I'm going to see you walk 20 blocks down and 15 blocks over, and you'll end up by a swamp. That's never happened. But it does happen all the time. That much I do know. That's why I don't ask directions. In what ways has our response to coronavirus looked like communism? Well, if it wasn't for other folks, common folks, doing what they did, well, we would have more fatalities than we do. People coming to people's aid. I don't think people understand there are actually people that are sitting tonight as we speak with empty cupboards because both of them lost their jobs that were making no minimum wages anyways. And all the unemployment in the world, even the stimulus, many times will not help. You know why? Because before then, every month, they were stealing from Peter to pay Paul anyways with 2 incomes. They were paying a little bit of electric bill. Electric bill, $150, they pay $75. Telephone bill, $100, they pay $25. So if it wasn't for people coming together and stepping in with what they know how to do to help other people, whether it was fundraising, whether it was cooking meals for people that didn't have meals, whether it was even sewing clothes for people that didn't have clothes, we'd be in much worse shape. We would really, be in a lot worse shape. So yes, I think that you put in that perspective, communism is practiced all the time, every day, in every way by many folks. And thank goodness for that, because there's no one else to depend on but us.
Hierarchy is too.
Excuse me?
Certainly hierarchy is too.
Yes, yes, most definitely.
I think he's right that we see all of these different
all the time.
Relationships, yeah.
All the time. Again, I don't know if I fit in this world because I don't believe in hierarchy. And I'm not a rebel without a cause. I just don't believe in it. I just don't believe there's any individual.
Yeah, but I remember he said something about we are all what was it, communists? I forget what, but we act like communists with our mates or something like that, but feudal lords with our children.
But I think the interesting thing is that.
So are you saying you don't want to have a hierarchical relationship with your toddler?
Well, I don't know if you would call it hierarchy. Maybe I don't use the word hierarchy because I don't feel like it's a hierarchy. I feel like I'm there because the toddlers can't survive without me. And that has nothing to do with hierarchy. It's that they can't survive.
Actually,
well, for
because
me,
you have responsibility towards a child, because as an adult, not only can you hurt him, you can kill him. Yeah, what makes your responsibility is precisely the fact that you could, because of your pure strength, destroy the child. So it's strange because true love comes from somebody who could destroy you, but never does it. And this is so strange when you think about it, because a lot of women love laying down on, there are really good guys who are really muscular. There are really good guys out there every woman loves lying on their even if they're not about that, this strength, this huge arms could destroy her and wreck her, but no, they're so sweet to her. This strange situation where, and you feel that in a lot of relationships, this tension. And this is where I think comes from the idea of debt as well. You're too powerful. You love me for a reason. I better never anger you or frustrate you. And that creates those horrible relationships with, yeah, I love you and I love you too. And like, it lacks reality because it's all about perception, not about and what is reality? We're all in the simulation, Venita, from our brains. And you're right. We all have our own narrative, mythologies. And communism, it's strange because Graeber studied Marx a lot. He's talking really about Marx. Marx says that there are no individual rights because we are not free. There's no free will. Why? Because everything's determined. We're material. So we can only live with each other. So any regime that says the opposite is a lie, dangerous, and needs to be destroyed. And true communism is natural. It's called humanity, is that animals take care of each other. Well, that's the veil of capitalism making us think that we're enemies towards each other. So that's why he's talking about baseline communism. When I ask you a light, people who have a lot of money will say, leave me alone. Leave me alone. Who are you? No, I just asked for a light. Call the police. You see guys from your area, like, you got a light. Sure. They could be like, hey, why does this guy want to talk to me? He wants to stab me? No, I don't care because I don't own anything. Poor people are communist because they're not scared of each other. Rich people will never be communist. You try to ask them for something, they're like, oh. And that's why, what they did in Georgia, the justification for making illegal to distribute water or food in voting lines is a way to say, because it could be bribery. To them, communism is corruption, clientelism, government paying people to behave. No, people should be responsible.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just like, I don't think as deep as you do because I'm not probably as philosophical as you are, and I'm not the master of philosophy.
I'm not. But I've
never.
The title that we get through a diploma doesn't mean anything.
Right. Well, that diploma says that you have mastered philosophy.
I'm a master, maîtresse, they say.
There you go. Merci.
Oh no, I mercy you. I will not do such thing. I mercy you. No, I mercy you more.
No, I mercy you more. No, I just never thought of it that way. I guess I just don't think that way. Again, it goes back to, I don't know, I just don't think that way. I've never thought about it, never took the time to think about it. I've never thought about hierarchy in that way, that because I'm more powerful than my child, that could very well hurt my child. And my child knows I can hurt them. I never thought of it. Absolutely never thought of it. Maybe because I don't have those thoughts.
You never called your child by his full name, including middle name? And you know what terror it creates in us when mothers do that? I'm going to a coma. That's whooping.
Well, yeah, I usually don't call him by his full name.
Even when we're about to die, we remember our mother's like, please.
Yeah. Yeah, that my thing wasn't called by the full name. My thing was always, they could tell when I had enough, because I would look at them and say, it always, and I do it to the day, I have something to tell you. And when I say I have something to tell you, when you're aggravating me, they just automatically knew that whatever was coming behind it, life was going to change as they knew it that day. Which was probably something like, if you plan to go to so-and-so, if you plan to do this or that, then in order for that to happen, if and statement, then you're going to have to get this done. So whenever I said to my sons, I have a few things to tell you, they knew that the party was over.
But you didn't perceive hierarchy, but they did. That's what I mean. The landlord always thinks he's generous, and people are
right.
The landlord,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right. That's why I never thought of it that way. But yeah, they knew with the hierarchy. was. I never thought, well, I'm this powerful mom, or that you're a mere
No.
peasant. Well, actually,
They knew.
That's not true. That's not true. Because I remember telling Clint once when he really got on my nerves, he's a teenager. And I think I actually told him that I am the queen, because teenage years. No, I think that's one time I did tell him that. He had, how they get to be teenagers and, they start trying you with some crazy. And I said, Clint, I honestly remember saying that. I am the queen and you're a mere peasant here on borrowed time. And if you do it the way I want you to do it, then life will be good for you. But if you continue to do the way you want to do it, there's going to be hell to pay. Now, you're right.
In the 12th century in Europe, you would have been an incredible landlord and you would be in history books. That was an inspiring speech to me. I would bow to you. That's a reflex we have. Oh, wait, she's dangerous. Bow, and become a friend. Seriously,
once again,
oh my God, it's like conditioned in me, like I want to bow.
Yeah, I would be a good queen though, because I really wouldn't go that far unless you really
we know you're a good queen. Oh, you're the best. Please,
I'm a good queen. Okay, because I gave the child the benefit of the doubt, which I always do with my
That's a
boys.
That's a threat.
And but unfortunately, I see you can't handle your business. Now I have to handle your business, and if I have to handle your business,
it's incredible. It's all
that's
about
gangster.
mentality,
Michelle, you know what, children. Michelle, I just realized how gangster I was.
But you have to with teenagers, because if you allow them to say the C word one day, like, hey, you, you need to make a statement right away.
Well, you know something? It's funny you say that, Rick, because I actually have seen over the years, not in Clint Aaron's time, they're a generation apart. And that's why I'm able to see the big difference. In Clint's generation, I started to see parents negotiating. Actually, I'm not trying to be funny, because I was standing back in awe, because it was like, I don't even know which way, but to stand there. Time out. I mean, negotiating. Actually a little bit after Clint, maybe Clint was about 10, 12, then the other ones coming up. They're actually standing and negotiating with a 5-year-old. And I've seen it in the grocery store, and it starts seeing it happening all over. You got the child from hell running around Stop and Shop, reckless. Okay, now we're in a grocery store. It's a wonderful place, and I always like my children to explore and look at all the different wonderful foods and stuff like that. But there's an orderly way to do that, because there are other people also in that grocery store, not just you.
Mothers just a child.
No, mothers was actually standing there. One mother, Michelle, years ago, your mother and your mother might do the same thing. They tell you what the rules are going to be before you get out the car, before you get off the bus. The rules are laid down. You know exactly what time it is when you were going to any place. I don't care whether it was the church or whether it's the grocery store. The rules are laid down in the car. You knew them. And if you even looked like you were going to step out of that, and misbehaving was not allowed, you had to be they would give you that look of death. There was no negotiation. It was just a look of death, and your whole chest would just sink in, because you knew. You remember? Now Loga did it, because Loga, that's my girl right there. Okay,
yeah, especially in church.
In church,
look.
They give you that look. I remember being in church, and they give you that look
in front of everybody.
And what's really bad about it is if someone else sees you, that was really hell to pay. Not only is it hell to pay if your mother gives you a look, but if another somebody had to give you a look, you embarrassed her. Number one, you misbehaving. Number two, you embarrassed her in the church, because another woman, always women, because that's how it was, had to give you that look. So when you got in that car, that life was going to change as you knew it the day before.
But that's why my mom had a method in church. She would squeeze my knee really hard in the bones. And then she would like, you're going to live hell. Do something. Try something. And one night we were after soccer, we were all excited, and we were kind of really rude to the mom who was driving us back. And she told my mom, and it
Oh,
was Dragon Ball Z that was coming up. So like, no, wait, that's the night he's fighting Frieza. No, no, but it's just okay. She's a bitch. Uh, oh, by the way, your console. What do you mean? Where are your games? Nobody knows.
you know what I'm saying? But
But
that,
my mom,
but
no, no, nobody knows.
yeah,
I don't know, but you gotta know. You know, it's your house. And I would get angry. And the more angry I would get, then she would just snap and say, okay, you were tested. You keep on going deep in your hole. You
yep.
know, you're going to bed right now. And then you would come downstairs. Mommy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did I have the console? And she
Yeah,
would be
it's
like,
a,
we'll see tomorrow. I love
oh,
you.
that's the killer right
Go
there. That's
to
the
bed.
killer. That's the killer. That's the killer. When they ever say, Michelle, you remember that when they say, we'll see, the we'll see is the worst thing you could say to a child.
Yep.
We'll see. And we'll see means, pretty much get out my face. I'm not making a decision today, and I might not make one tomorrow. That's where hierarchy comes in. I will make a decision. They pull that power play when I want to make it. We will see. That was like death.
That's why I'm.
And one thing I wanted to also mention in terms of hierarchy, like where he talks about a wage contract, a wage labor contract, and as as a willing state of inequality.
Yes.
And how, either party technically has the ability to end it whenever they want. Because technically, legally, the employer and the employee are equal. Mm-hmm. Right. So that just had me thinking about, I've personally known so many horrible, horrible workplace environments. And I've always been quick to walk away. In fact, by the time I met Rick at the job we were on, Rick would get very upset about various things, but I had a new attitude by then. I was always just like, whatever. Because
you inspired me.
I had seen so many horrible things, and that was the first job where I was really developing the art of not giving AF. And it was very insightful for me, because I had always cared too much. But there is something very powerful in being able to walk away. And it's surprising to me that more people don't exercise that power more often, thus reestablishing their own sense of equality.
Guess what happens if all the workers walk out the same day? They're getting called back in the morning because it's not a strike. But the managers don't know how to do the job. They're managers. They manage, which means they tell people whatever. They're managers. They just have a title. I always tell that to people like, yeah, you're getting flack from them. Remember, if you walk away, what they're going to do? Hire somebody else. They need to train that person, etc. You're gone. I had so many friends that were in horrible workplaces, and the day they finally found a job, people were angry at them. I'm like, you can't leave. Well, you hate me. You wrote me up, told me I had 2 months to turn things around. Yeah, but it's not very professional to leave right now in the middle of a warning and a phase where we test you. What's going on? I had friends telling me stuff like that. Like, they were like, they bully you. And when you say I'm leaving, Why? I can't bully you anymore? That's not
Oh,
professional.
they do get upset about that. I've been in that position a couple of times myself. Again, with any caste system, I will cast myself out. You will not have the opportunity to cast me anywhere. Okay. So, and they've gotten upset. How dare you, Venita? And I'm like, see, that's what happens. You never make assumptions about people. People need to understand that. Don't assume things about others. Just because I smile, don't let that face fool you. And that's what happens a lot of times. You smile, and because you're patient with idiots, their assumption is that you're going to always be patient with them. But at some point, my patience run out, and I still do with a smile. You know, it's like, so, and that's where the millennials are right now. You know, I'm talking to some millennials, and, you know, was not having any idea of where they should be at any given time as far as age, jobs. There's no yardstick, there's no nothing. They pretty much are floating around the universe. And they got to the point where they don't give a damn. And, you know, I like my millenniums. You mess with millennium, they don't play with these employers.
It's a wonderful place. Yeah, it's a great place to be.
Yes, they do not play with an employer. They will ghost you. Talking about giving a resignation. Don't mess with a millennium, and I don't care what kind of job they have. Okay.
They just walk out. Yeah.
They will ghost. When I say ghost, if they don't walk out right then you don't see them in the morning, and that has nothing to do with their education or their status. I don't give a damn what kind of money they're making. You mess with millennium too much.
Yeah.
Oh,
and when they go out and when they walk out, sometimes they take people with them. That's another thing about the millennials.
They do even better. They go on sick leave.
With them.
They go on sick leave. You can't fire them. Disability Act. So they go on sick leave. They're not paid 100%, but the guy's still, you know, paying for the insurance and stuff.
You do not mess with a millennium, and I have to respect them. I wish more folks would like them, because then we put them with the crap that we've been putting up that we do today. You know,
there are a lot of crap jobs. You know, millennials.
More than a few employers that have had to, you know, clean up their act in order to be able to retain staff. Yeah.
Well, I think Chipotle is getting that message.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I just read an article. They're offering $15 an hour, and a sign-on bonus. Because the millennials said we're tired of gig work. But if we have to work some gig work with bachelors and masters, I even know PhDs just working gig jobs. They can't find, you know, gainful employment. You're gonna pay us. And they're talking about the workforce. Now you have this whole thing that people are staying home because this little stimulus crazy. Well, if that be the case, then you know they need to make more money. Period. Nobody's rushing back out there for $8 an hour between two people working hard because of hierarchy and because the people don't think they deserve to live. They're working 40 plus hours a week. They're making $8, $9, and $10 an hour, and they're not supposed to live. That's what you're supposed to do.
No, they actually work 80 hours a week on jobs that are extremely brutal for the body, and they can't afford real good health insurance, even if they buy it, you know, through, you know, the ACA. So it's an everlasting cycle. You know, when you're poor, you go to jail, you can't pay bail. So you have to loan from somebody. You have an interest rate. If you don't pay the interest rate, you go back to jail. But a rich person, bail $1 million and hearing out.
Well, you know, but this is this is exactly what they're doing. And now it's causing a huge problem for them. During the pandemic, you remember clearly, I'm sure you do, with the chicken factory down there in South Carolina, North
700
Carolina,
casualties. Kansas.
You know, and I was so
South
sick.
Dakota.
I was actually in tears.
What happened? I missed that story. What happened?
Lots of lots of casualties in those regions when when we had the New York surge, were people working in slaughterhouses. And we estimate that 700 to 1,400 people in the food industry, meat packing industry in America died of COVID because of where they were. You're in an area that is full of meat. Well,
that's when Donald told them to get their black asses back to work, right?
And that was it.
Because meat is more important than their lives.
And they even lied to them. They even lied to them. But no one knew any better. No one knows about pandemics. No one knew how these things are moving. You have the managers
Burgers.
lying to them, telling them that, oh, everything is okay, get back to work. And they really had to make a choice, because if they didn't work, they don't get any food. One gentleman on television.
It's a daily work job, yeah.
Yeah, so it was just, it's the saddest thing I've ever seen. And now they wonder why they can't get anybody to come back there. I'm like, really?
Boy.
So now, the economy's slowing down because of that. So they say, it's not slowing down for me, because I don't need to go to Chipotle's. I don't need to eat meat. Yeah, I can go outside and grow me some vegetables. It's for the middle class, the few that are left, and the wealthy. That's who it's for. Keep those yachts clean, keep those hotels clean, keep those resorts clean. It's not about you and I, the layman, because we don't really need all that. I can't afford to go, to a hotel in New York that costs $2,000 a night.
Nobody can.
$4,000 a night. I can't afford to do that. I don't have a yacht, so I don't really need the yachties and the staff, and they don't make enough money. I don't need all that stuff. This is what the problem is. And Wall Street, of course. The wealthy, it's just wreaking a lot of havoc. And it's really kind of sad. I mean, actually, it's not kind of sad. It's disgusting. But the point is, the millennials, they used to not having anything. They don't give a damn. Yeah. They don't own nothing. Yeah. They don't care. They don't. And that's the best way to be. That's how you started, that's how you're not indebted. And that's why so many Americans are so indebted, for that need for things. The millennials got the idea. Nothing for nothing, leave nothing.
Right.
I mean, really. But one thing I'm going to have is my life. I'm going to have a peace of mind. I'm going to keep my sanity. We didn't know that. We were raised to, you just lose your mind. Keep that job. They make a difference. Or how much they abuse you. Well,
yeah, and figuring out what's important. I was just looking for that question where he talks about the things that people like to share. I think it was a part of the communism discussion. But things that bring you joy, sharing music, sharing drugs, sharing alcohol,
sharing drugs leads to problems.
Here is this question. It's question 10. Solitary pleasures will always exist, but for most human beings, the most pleasurable activities almost always involve sharing something: music, food, liquor, drugs, gossip, drama, beds. There is a certain communism of the senses at the root of most things we consider fun. And so I think, along the lines of what Venita is saying, that some of the younger generations, are understanding that you can work yourself to death. And even if you make a lot of money, it doesn't mean you've necessarily had joy in your life. And so I think some of the younger people are really figuring out, how to have joy in ways that don't necessitate a lot of money. So you guys are my joy. I look forward to our Friday chat so much. Yes. And this communistic sharing of ideas. I'm glad you said what you said, Venita, about communism. I did want to say, I've always felt like people really don't, this country went through a horrible period of the Red Scare, where the idea of communism was demonized, was the subject of horrific propaganda and big lies, and that is just the way America operates. But I always felt like, because I was a political science major, and so, I had a perspective on different economic and political systems from that period in my life. But I always felt like if people would really take the time to, explore the ideologies of communism and socialism, something other than capitalism, we could have real discussions about what's wrong with this world that we're living in and what are some potential other things we could do. But the capitalistic system doesn't ever want you to have that thought. They want you to believe, and that's the essence, I think, of this chapter, that they want you to believe that this is the only way, that human beings are just, pure, self-serving, calculating animals, who only can think about exchanging goods and services. And they don't want you to think that there's any other way for humans to interact. And so I enjoyed the chapter.
I did too, very much. Well, saying that, we don't have to worry about those things. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. So we are quite content with us getting together on Friday evenings. And this is our enjoyment. And we don't need all the rest of that stuff. It's pretty free. And you don't owe anything. Doesn't take a lot of money. And don't worry about it, Rick. I won't charge you for any of this. Okay, you don't only know.
You have to. I would be dishonored if you didn't, Master.
You forgot the
in your debt.
That's what I'm saying. You forgot the mercy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to go.
Okay.
All right, guys.
It was a pleasure, everybody. Talk to you soon.
All right.
We're off next week.
Yeah.
And then the following week, it's about sex and death.
Is it there where he speaks about Nietzsche? We'll see. I don't remember which chapter it was. But he does a full 4 pages on Nietzsche. It's going to be interesting.
Okay.
All right. Good night.
Take care, everybody.
Have a good week.
You
Bye.
too, bye.